I would love for you to have a microphone, if possible.
Siblings. Siblings.
Alright, let's see.
Right, it's 5:03. Can you get started? Sure. All right. Have some phones here. And it's specialized in pre-war pinball, meaning before 1936, before America really got into the war. So early machines with no flippers, but we have electricity and we have some other things we're going to look at during the thing. I really got into this because of actually this gentleman right here. He had a...
Hey, don't blame me.
Yeah, I'm going to blame you. He had a Bally Airway and I just thought it was the coolest thing and it got me hooked and I started to specialize in it. That was
You can
about
play it.
6 years ago.
6 years ago?
About 6 years ago at the show. It was at this show too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over that. We have a couple of Facebook groups. There's a pre-war pinball Facebook group that a bunch of people are members of. People are always posting weird things that they find, interesting machines, things you've never seen before. That's really neat. Also, there are a fair amount of for sale posts out there. If you're looking for a machine, that's a good place to go get one. And then I have a history of pinball thing on Facebook as well, and my email address is jeff@historyofpinball.org. Right, so easy enough. Agenda, we're going to talk today about the history of pre-war pinball, hence history of pinball. Features in pinball that you might not be aware of in the early games. Most of the stuff you see today, ramps and kickers and all that stuff, we can show examples of from the 30s, right? So you're going to be able to see a lot of that. The whole gambling aspect, a lot of these early games were gambling related. You played for points and you would get different rewards at the bar for those points. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then pinball, of course, became illegal because of the gambling, and Roger Sharp came in and went ahead and made the shot heard around the world and brought pinball back for all of us. So we're not going to get that recent into the history, but it's cool either way. All right, so introduction. So I hear these questions a lot, right? Why do you like pre-war pinball? Why don't you just play the new machines? Well, I do play the new machines, and they're just as fun. But pre-war is the specialization that I like. You see a lot of neat things. You play a lot of addictive games, and I think if you play some over at the booth that we have this weekend, you'll understand the addiction. Aren't they boring, right? They don't take any skill. I hear that a lot too. That's a lot of crap. So they're completely skill-based, even though they're gambling. If you look at some of the games we have at the booth, you have to hit the action hole up top to make different features of the machine happen, like to make a solenoid fire, or to release balls from a ball trap, or to place the ball in the correct position to go on the baseball field, right? They're all skill. Most of it's shooter skill, and then there's nudging skill as well. You'll notice that a lot of these machines, you have to nudge a little bit, right and left, but of course don't nudge too much, don't touch too much, because there are tilts on these machines. People don't think there are tilts, and sure enough. The other one I hear is, oh, but I like modern things. I like UKs and ramps, and I can show you all those games, right? So we're going to take a look at some of those as well. Also, during this presentation, if you have questions during the presentation, feel free to raise your hand and I'll be happy to call on you. All right, the history of pinball, the humble beginnings of coin-op pinball. This is a cool photo. This is a photo of the Bally factory in 32, And if you look, you can see Ballyhoo's. That's the game that they're producing. They made like 50,000 of these games. It was ridiculous. It was the game that got Bally started. That's the Bally that you play today. All those early games became some of the major players in pinball today. Gottlieb, Bally, etc. All right, so here's a little timeline of pinball. So we're going to start with like coin-op pinball. I can probably show you some coin-op pinball from the late 1800s, and there's some speculation that the very first coin-op pinball in 1931 was a knockoff on that from a machine that Mr. Paulin found in his shed, but he nor the other gentleman who founded Automatic Industries would ever mention what game they found, which is suspicious, right? So, first machine invented with a coin slot, invented by Arthur Paulin. It was in Youngstown, Ohio. The story goes that he found this machine and he took it to his friend's bar, and his friend said, hey, let's put the coin slot on it and see if people play it. And it took off like nobody's business. They started the Automatic Industries Company, and then started making these machines called Wiffle. And we'll take a look, but when Wiffle came out, there were many, many machines that had the same playfield layout. Mills Official had one. Every furniture maker that was trying to make a buck also made a Wiffle variant playfield. You can see some beautiful examples of what would be beautiful tables in your house with the legs and the carved wood and carved walnut that have the exact same Wiffle playfield with a coin slot on it. I like those. I just don't find them very exciting to play. But yeah, so be it. So then in 1932 we have Bally and Gottlieb getting into the game. We have Ballyhoo and Baffleball. And if you look at the playfield layouts, we'll take a look at those. They're very similar to Wiffle, but you start seeing more colors. You start seeing pins in different places, hence Pinball. We'll take a look at that. Both of those manufacturers made 50,000 of those machines. So when we talk about like Adam's Family selling, what was it, 21,000 or whatever it is, that ain't nothing, right? 50,000. When we get into some of the Rockola machines, like the baseball machine we have at the floor, that sold 70,000 machines. Rockola Jigsaw, which is the jigsaw puzzle, 70,000 machines. So these were money makers, right? People were buying them like nobody's business. They were fun, and people like to win money on them. So there you go. 1933, we get to Bally Airway. We have a version of that also on the floor for you to be able to. We have two on the floor. That's right, two on the floor for you to play. That's the first machine that had a totalizer or a scorekeeper. Before, you had to kind of count the holes that the balls had landed in and make sure you did it right. This one showed you the score on the bottom, which was really cool. It's I guess if you know how to add, it's easy to add, and you would be able to see your score very easy. So the first tilt's kind of hard to narrow down, but people seem to agree that Harry Williams of Williams Pinball invented the first tilt as we know it today with electricity in the Advance, which was by Automatic Amusements, which was the company he founded in '32, Harry Williams. And then we have in 1933 also the Bally Rocket, which looks similar to Airway, except it's a car theme, and the totalizer on the bottom was electric. So it would calculate your score for you, and if you got the right score, it would spit nickels out the side like a slot machine. So we get our first kind of hints of slot machine gambling combined with pinballs, which lasted probably through 37, 38 when you have one ball payouts, and you see even remnants of that in bingo machines today, where you rack up the credits and then you get to play more games or trade those into the bar. Pimco Contact in 1933, I thought this was an interesting one. It had a kicker and a bell ringer. It was also Harry Williams, right? Although Bally Rocket was electric, people say that Pimco Contact and Harry Williams said he made the first machine with electricity. So a lot of these games you have to do a lot of research on, and there were so many variants that it's hard to pinpoint a date or a time for them, but you look at the interesting ones and the players in the market, and you decide if they were just pimping themselves or if they actually created the first one. But they're neat either way. I like them. Bally Bumper Valley bumper is when you start to see electric bumpers. So the ball would bounce against the bumper, and it was a passive bumper, so it would hit and it would score you some points, but you wouldn't see the kickback like you do today with your bumper rings on the bottom and stuff like that. So we're already starting to see in 33 through 36 the things that you see in modern pinball machines. Right? Any questions?
Nothing good happens.
Yeah, oh yeah, and nothing good happens until 1947. That's true. Flippers came in 1947. If you play some of the wood rails before then, they're kind of fun if you read the rule set, but they're also kind of boring. There's nothing innovative, right? Flippers ended up coming out, and then there's controversy as to whether Humpty Dumpty really was the first machine with flippers, because there are some other prior machines that have the flippers. You just get into it. That's fine. All right, question?
I was just gonna ask, did they have like more traditional slot machines at this time too, like before these pinballs sort of?
100%.
Oh, okay,
So
cool.
yeah, because slot machines have been around since God knows when.
Okay.
What's that 1800 slot machine? That $100,000 machine?
Yeah, the big looks like a
The big, it's Caliphone or something like that, right? So yeah, so you had some of these slot machines real early on, mechanical and electrical as well, right? And about the same time you saw the one-ball payouts and some of the gambling there, the slot machines were trade stimulators.
Yeah.
So you would see a slot machine with gumballs in the front of it, or cigarettes in the front of it, and then you would also have a money tray at the bottom. So I'm really not sure where the difference was on it, but it was a gumball machine. It wasn't a slot machine, right? We see some real early Jennings. A lot of the companies made the same ones. Like O.D. Jennings was a huge slot machine company, but then they also put out in 1936 games like Jennings Sportsman, which is a really neat, nice-looking Art Deco machine that spits out nickels or checks. Did I bring that? So checks are coins, right? And then you would be able to trade that special Jennings coin for whatever it was you were getting at the bar, which is really neat. Other machines had tickets, and we'll take a look at that also. So all that Chuck E. Cheese crap that your kids play, they were already doing it with pinball machines.
We got another question.
Oh, all right. Yes, sir.
Was there any time it took? How long? Is there anywhere that says how long it took to build each machine?
I read that the machines at the Bally company, when they were doing Ballyhoo, they were putting out like 400 machines a day.
Okay.
So
I figured it's like, they're not
right.
too complex.
So it's not too complex. You had someone painting, right? You had someone jamming pins in it, and then you had someone assembling it. And you'll even notice those cabinets on the same Ballyhoo cabinets on other machines as well. In fact, I think the Joy game that's out there by Hercules, which was an aftermarket playfield you can put in your game, actually fits in Ballyhoo, and it probably was originally Ballyhoo cabinet. All right, so let's take some examples. Do these pictures big enough on here? I don't know. So I thought maybe they'd be big enough. I don't know if I can click on them. I don't care. So Automatic Industries Wiffle. This was the first machine. You can see this playout had why it's called pinball. You see all the little pins on the machine, right? You could do a little skill shot kind of thing to try to get it in the 1,000 or in the different areas, and you could nudge to get it in the middle here. You look at a Mills Official. I don't know if that picture is big enough, but it has the exact same layout of pins, right? So companies were copying each other year after year, and in fact there were lawsuits to stop that from happening, but that didn't happen for quite a while. They say the reason Automatic Industries went bankrupt was because they spent so much money trying to protect their IP, and they couldn't, and they kept spending money, and the boys with the big money like Gottlieb and Bally went ahead and did it anyway. So here's the first Bally machine, the 1932 Ballyhoo, and you can see also where it's very similar to the Wiffle. It has the same pin layout for the most part. It has beautiful colors. I do like that. It's nice. There's a whole series of machines from this year that have that same kind of color pattern, right? Which really reminds me of like late 20s, right? It's really kind of cool. And then you have Baffle Ball, where they moved on from the pins, even though it was in late 31, and they replaced them with little cups, and it started to figure out how to drop balls from the bottom of the cup rather than drop balls from the playfield. You also notice at the bottom of the playfield, they would catch balls here that went out rather than in a trough. So you started to see different designs come out. People were trying to, you can't see my mouse up there. I'm just moving my mouse on the screen, hoping you can see it. I can't. You can see different designs start to come out for the different parts of the machine. All right, features. What is old was once new, and what is new isn't really new at all. So this is a cool shot. It's from some pinball bar. I don't know where, but if you look here, I think this first machine closest to us is a Jigsaw. You can identify a couple other machines in there. I think it's just cool to see this is what you would do. You would put on your cool hat, apparently, and your suit, right? And you'd probably have a pack and a half of cigarettes, and you'd go try to win your money, right? So it was a pinball parlor, right? So that's where that term probably comes from, is pinball parlor. What I want to know is what the dude on the right is doing. Like his back leaned up against the machine. Is he watching the people play, or is he the supervisor, or is he just pissed because he lost all his money? Right?
He's the pit boss.
Yeah, or the pit boss. Very true, right?
Theory I've heard is he's the guy waiting to hand out the money when they actually collect.
Right, and that's true because to collect, you had to not cheat, right? So you're not able to move the machine around. You got to check the tilt. I'm sure they didn't let you manhandle the machine too much. You're probably right. That's very cool. So let's talk about what's old and what isn't new. So are flippers new? Did they come out in 1947? No. Here's a 1932 double shuffle that has manual flippers for the most part. You move these two levers down at the bottom, and all of the flippers move at the same time. So if you've played a Humpty Dumpty or Cinderella or any of the fairy tale series, when you hit your flipper, all 6 flippers go up at the same time. You don't have individual flipper control yet. So this game has flippers. I declare it so. Right? So people will argue that this isn't flippers. I disagree. Because if you can move the ball with the flipper, then there it is. So I just think this is a really cool machine. I would love if anybody has one of these, or knows what one is, please let me know. Wire forms. So ramps and wire forms, are those new? No, they are also not new. 1935, Chicago coin rapid transit. Right? This game is incredibly cool. We're going to watch a video here of this game being played, so you can see how cool it is. And also I get to burn time with it. Right? So here's this game. We'll start from the beginning. You can see this is a very beautiful, this is by a gentleman named Cliff.
Not on your screen.
Is it not?
No, because you're in the middle of the PowerPoint.
Well, how do I flip?
We can close the PowerPoint.
I don't want to close it.
Just hit the escape key, click on
Hit the escape key on the PowerPoint.
Yeah, he has to stop the slide.
I am not a good at PowerPoint.
There you go.
All right.
Now you can play.
I write the software, I don't use the software, all right? All right, are we good? Yeah. Everybody? Is that clear enough on the screen? So, like all games, we put in the coin and we'll reset it, and you'll see where this has trapped balls already for you, the 5 blue trap balls. The object of this game is to try to load up the balls into the kicker lane and then hit that very top elevated starter, which he'll do in about 2 balls. This game has lights, it has ramps, it has VUKs. You'll notice the tilt down at the bottom of the machine. Normally this had a ball and another ball. Here, let's watch a shot. I think this is where he does it. So there's your skill shot, right? And you can see it kicks the ball around, the balls go over the ramps, and they get to the center area, which is where your big points are. Multi-ball, right? All right. I think these are all power balls, so these stole them out of the telemetry, right?
I think this is the LE edition with the ELO soundtrack.
Yeah, with the ELO soundtrack too. Which I'm sure will be canceled out of Facebook. So you can see where the loop starter, you see the 2 holes with the loop starter at the top and the elevated starter. So there are 3 ways to start the balls moving around the ramps, right, and the hamster trails. I just think this is an incredibly cool game. Again, if you know what one of these is, please let me know. Right? This is an advertisement for my collection. Look at that. That's cool. Did you see? The elevated starter kicks the blue ones into the top layer as well. All right, so that's pretty neat. Everyone like that? We're not gonna watch all 3 minutes of it.
How many balls?
This one has 10 white balls, right? And so as you load them up, you want to get them all down in this area, especially in this 3,000, 2,000, 2,500. But to do that, you have to be able to hit the kicker and get the setup for it. A lot of these games are set up and then hit the skill shot. Oops. All right, so here's another game that we're going to take a look at. This is called Spitfire by Genko. Also 1935. So by 1935, you're starting to see electricity in almost all the games. You're starting to see the cool features come out. You're seeing the end of the mechanical era. You see games like Army Navy by Rockola, that's all mechanical, but it's the most complicated mechanical workings that you've ever seen on a game. It's horrible when I won't work on them. I'll send them away to have someone else work on them for me. But beautiful game. So here's a video of the Spitfire. We had one of these at Texas Pinball Festival this last year, and it won Best Original of the entire show. It won outside of the pre-war, pre-1960s category. So let's see what the soundtrack on this one is. I don't know. So on this one, we're going to manually activate it. If you get the balls in the two lots right there, and then you get the middle, it shoots the balls into the 2000 score. And then you notice you put the ball in the fire hole, and it'll go through the wire frames and around. We're going to go ahead and load it up again. And then also there's a light above that 2000 that will light up when you roll through the Spitfire as well. You saw the light up there, right? So that's a good score. You got 8,000 there, and then you're going to try to load up down below as well. So quite a fun game. You can see a different version of the tilt down below. There's no ball in the tilt. And that big hole to the side of the tilt is where you would take a look and see if your nickels were put in or whether someone tried to put a slug in there. Right? There's a lot of slug detection kind of thing going on. All kinds of different coin slides, magnets in them to make sure that they didn't go in. So, when you're playing for money, people are going to try to cheat. And that's what they were trying to prevent. You got to make money. All right, so we looked at that. That was pretty neat. I enjoyed that game very much. All right, Chuck E. Cheese, there you go. That's from a 1935 Stoner ticket light. Stoner had the Stoner Girl, right? Which, I just like saying Stoner Girl. So these tickets came out of a ticket machine in the pinball. So just like you play at Chuck E. Cheese and it spit out tickets, this is the exact same thing. You had gambling machines that spit out checks, like what I was talking about. If you want to come to the booth, I have a couple lying around. So little coins made for specific manufacturers. You had some that would just spit out money. The Bally Rocket would spit out nickels. You had some that would spit out tickets. And it's all the same thing. It's all go up to the bar or the pit boss and then trade it in for whatever the prize of the day is. I know a lot of machines were for cigarettes. That was a big money item. Beers, probably. I'd play for a beer. That'd be good. All right, so now we're going to talk about tilts. Okay, so this is a 1934 Rockola World Series. We have this in the booth. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's an award winner at Texas Pinball Festival. It plays like a dream. I love it. And you can see on the tilt here, down on the lower right-hand side, that I have tilted the machine. So I will not be able to collect on my payout on that. You see where it's red, that little red square down in the bottom? So when you first start the game, it shows black 3 stars, and then if you tilt, it shows to red. So the way the tilt works is very much like what you see today with the tilt on the side of your machine with the ball in it that rolls back and forth. If you pick it up, the ball rolls down. It's the exact same technology in that one. There's a ball and a little lever, and if you make the ball move off the lever, you've tilted. So that's one version of tilt. They were really trying to do different ideas and technologies during this time. You'll see here's a couple of tilts in a 1933 Bally Airway. You can see this is similar. So it's tilted up top, which is the little piece that sits on the top right of the playfield. You can come see that over at the booth. And the underneath of it is squished. But you can see where if the ball rolls, if you lift the front of the machine up, that ball is going to roll back, hit the actuator, and then cause your tilt mechanism to show tilt, right? So we don't want to pay money where we don't want to pay money. Here we go. Do not tilt. So 1934 Valley Fleet Jr. We have one of those in the booth as well. And the way these tilts worked is there was a rod that fits in that little center hole, and the rod would balance a ball on top of it. So the minute you start the game, the ball would balance, and then you can't, if you move the machine too much, the ball would fall off and be like wedged, it wouldn't be balanced on top, and that would show that you've tilted the game. And so I think the relay has the bar, doesn't it? Yeah, so there's a relay out there, and you can tell even just trying to get that ball balanced when you first start the game is very difficult, right? So a couple of different ways to tilt, and these were all non-electrical tilt methods. Like I said, Harry Williams created a tilt in contact, and you started to see items where when you tilted, the entire game was over, or other harsh consequences for you screwing the machines. Either way, you don't get paid. So now we're to the gambling portion of our discussion, gambling. And here's I had to include some shot of someone smashing a pinball machine. So I thought this one was a pretty good one, right? So who likes gambling? Who wants to gamble? Okay, come up here and spin the wheel. If you spin the wheel, right, and you get the color. I have a blue, a yellow, or a white. And if you get any of those colors on the wheel, then I will give you a marble. No whammies, no whammies. Big money. Gambling. Do we have another player? We have another player. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Have I got some snake oil and silver?
So close.
So let's see what we get on this one. All right, we have a big winner. Big winner. I feel like it's a state fair. Stuffed animals. Did you get the 20? Oh. All right, so no one wins. So that's gambling, all right? No one won. So the marble wins because it doesn't get taken. So that's gambling, right? So it's complete chance. Are these games complete chance? Not at all, right? If you played some of these games over here, there's a skill set that you need to be able to win the game, right? Whether it's being able to plunge lightly or control your plunge, or whether it's shooting the ball in a specific hole on the playfield, or being able to nudge your ball into a specific position to get the additional points, right? So you can see where there were all kinds of different payout mechanisms for the gambling of the game, but you had to involve the skill with it as well. This is not just random to be able to get these scores. You can get these scores and you can achieve them, not easily, but enough that you would get different points. This is off of Mills Official Senior, I think is this game. And you can see where it has 10 balls for 5 cents. And a bunch of rules like you have to play all 10 balls. You don't get any free games on unfinished games. Lost balls, no, that doesn't count. None of the things, right? So I thought this was really neat, the way this payout mechanism worked. So then some games, you would have scorecards on the playfield, right? So on Airway or the Rocket, which was the gambling version of the game, you could set up the game differently. You can set up to win by points, right? And you see the totalizer down at the bottom. You can see that you've gotten, 10, 9, 8, 7, 600, and you get 2 free games. Now, you might trade that in for a quarter, but 2 free games either way. Or you could do it by color. So really it's the same thing, because if you look at the totalizer, each score has a different color. So on this Rocket card, the gold is 1,000, the yellow is 900. It means the same thing, but I think the colors are catchier. And I think it was that was a neat advertising move to get people to come in and play, right? And then Airway. Airway, we have a total scorecard up here, where you would get different amounts of points, which equaled skill points, which equaled money. So I have a card at the booth that I pulled from one of the airways, pardon me, that seems innocuous at first when you first look at it. It says Joe Judge Brown for Harris County Legislature, right? And so it just looks like a flyer for a gentleman that ran, I want to say it was in the early 40s, for Texas Senate, I want to say it is. And when you flip over the Texas Senate card, it has the payout schedule. So it has the same kind of thing here. It has 4,000 points, a dime, 5,000 points, a quarter, and then I think if you get a perfect score, you get 50 cents, which in the 30s is a nice chunk of change. Go get yourself a dinner and hang out. I think that's just neat, right? And it also says no tilting, whatever. But I love that it's legal until you turn it over, and then it's not. All right, so here's some more versions. These are all from Rockola machines. Rockola, who makes the jukebox, also was in the pinball manufacturing business for quite a while. They made about 55 machines. If you know of one, let me know. I now own 9 or 10 of them, I think, so I'm working on the collection. That seems to be where I've focused. And I like the 35, 36 machines because they're a lot of fun. There's a lot of neat features, that kind of thing. So 6,000 or over on the Jigsaw. That's a game that has a big jigsaw puzzle in the middle. And as you shoot the balls, it closes different parts of that jigsaw puzzle. So if you can complete the entire puzzle, you're a badass. But if you get some of the puzzle done, you would get different points. And so there's two slides for Jigsaw here. There's one that has the 10 balls, 5 cents, where 6 balls, 200 points, and you can see your payout schedule. And then this other one, which looks like it was made by Joe's Generic Bar. 6,000 or over, 15 cents in trade. So then if you complete the Jigsaw, you get 25 cents in trade, and whatever the trade of the day was, right? Kind of cool. Play ball, also known as World Series. You can get up to 12 hits and 100 skill points, right? Trade in your skill points for whatever it is. The most I've seen on my game is 12 runs. We were at a show at the Fort Science and History Museum, and a kid came up and just railed it. Right? He railed it. He did like 10, and then his dad dragged him away because he'd been playing for half an hour. And so I went in and put up the last 2. And it was neat to see the game actually be maxed out. Pretty cool. And then Army-Navy, we see some more point schedules. Army-Navy was the last mechanical Rockola machine by 1935. And very complicated. It has the Army-Navy football teams. There's about 16 or 17 that are known in the world. I think the number might be up from there. But if you'd like to play it, please come to Texas Pinball Festival in March and play all 3 of these Rockola games, right? Very neat. Rockola then started they did a lot of payout machines. They did Hollywood, they did One Better. A lot of them are impossible if they've never seen. And then when the war started, they switched manufacturing, as did Bally and Gottlieb and anyone else, and Rockola started making M1 carbines. All right, and so that's the majority of my lecture. And so it's question and answer time. We can talk about restoration, we can talk about different games, we can all go get a beer, whatever you want to do.
In those old parlors, were there ever players who were like too good who got banned for like winning too much?
I haven't read specifically about that, but the answer is yes. I've played with some older gentlemen that can tap that ball into any hole on the play field. It's really exciting to see them play. You just know you're going to get your butt handed to you.
Do you know any of them that's willing to teach us?
Yeah, right. No, right. That's absolutely right. All right. Anyone else?
Were there any like homebrew pinball makers in this state, or was it all just like?
There were. If you look through, there's machines. If you go to the Pinball Facebook pre-war group, whatever I call it, you'll see people daily put up some machine that God only knows who built it. It looks like it was built in someone's garage and put a coin slide on it and stuck it into Uncle's bar, right? And there's thousands of these machines, right? Every day you get something that someone goes, I have no idea who that manufacturer is. I have no idea what that game is, but we can date it based on the features and how the playfield looks. Also, if you want to read more of my rambling, if you go to Pinball, is it Pinball Magazine, Volume 3, I think? It has Indiana Jones on the cover. Jonathan Johansson puts that out. There's a neat interview. Any other questions?
What's your favorite modern pinball machine?
My favorite modern pinball machine? Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden LE, I love
Iron
that game,
Maiden.
right? It's a great game, right? Metal, it's all about the metal, right? So that game is fun, but it has the same thing. It has ramps, it has wireforms, it has kickers. I mean, it's just a more complicated version, right? And I love it. I think it's really nice. All right, any from the peanut gallery that has the P-Roll pinball machines?
Have you ever had someone get a perfect game on Airway yet?
I've never had anyone get a perfect game on Airway. So my current getting people interested deal is if you get all 10 balls and all 10 holes on Airway, I'll give you $100. And I've had that out for 6 years since I've been bringing this game. I haven't gotten a perfect game. My girlfriend has never gotten a perfect game. Oh, it's her machine. I'm supposed to say that. I've never seen anyone get a perfect game. There was one person at TPF that claimed they had a perfect game, but they couldn't show me or had any video proof. And I've had thousands of games put through that. On yours, have you ever seen that?
I have not yet.
No, and you've had thousands of games.
The only
put through
time I
that.
saw a perfect game was when I dropped them in to make sure they all worked.
No, it's never had a perfect game.
No, that's crazy. And then I normally keep 9 balls in the machine, so
If my granddaughter ever hits it, I'll let you know.
I would love to see that. That's just an amazing feat. So with that, if there's nothing else, I invite you to come by the booth, talk to me some more, play some games, learn some history, and I have some artifacts over there I can show. We can bust open machines if you want to look at the
You can
inside.
cover it, but I have a question.
Yeah,
It's
of
not
course.
a question, it's
Yeah.
where'd all they go? There's like 50,000 plus that they made on those. Where'd they all go?
I don't know. I think, so
Road Prohibition?
World Series and Jigsaw, there's 70,000 of each of those machines were put out, right? That's an incredible amount of machines. But then you see there's pictures of boats in New York City that are just flat cargo haulers that are just covered in slot machines and pinballs and any kind of gambling, crane machines. So I guess you could gamble with crane machines. You could gamble with anything. Crane machines, and they dumped them all at the bottom of the harbor in New York.
Why?
Because of gambling.
Gambling.
Because gambling. Yeah, prohibition, right? So,
Like they would raid pinball parlors and pull them out into the street
Absolutely.
and smash them with hammers.
smash with hammers.
I picked one up in mid-Missouri, and the story was on it that it was in a bar. And there were like 10 of them in the bar.
Uh-huh.
And the guy's grandfather had something to do with the sheriff department. And they destroyed all but one, and he was able to snag
Take it home and play it.
He snagged that one. But it had the lock bar broken off of it.
Okay.
So they started to, it's like, wait, I want that one. And only because they're
Accidentally missed
Accidentally
the
missed one, right?
hammer.
yeah. And, I picked it up,
Is it a payout or is it just
it was not a payout.
Yeah, it's interesting to see when you find these payout machines. It has a slot machine mechanism. So if you work on an old Bally slot machine and you work on one of the Bally payouts, it's the exact same mechanism. So you can intertwine some of those parts, like the payout tubes and some of the other parts that are in there.
But it was one of 10 and 9 didn't make it.
9 didn't make it. That's right. So there's a good video on KXAN up in Dallas Fort Worth in their archives of them going in and taking all the bingo machines and all the pinball machines out and taking them out to the dump and just running dumpsters over them, just crushing them to death, right? Which makes me very angry because I need all of those parts. Right? I'm constantly buying boxes of parts where I need one part so that the next time we find a machine or someone finds a machine and needs it to get it working, we can get it working. We're also working on a good 3D printing effort for different machines. We're able to print out in stainless steel from some of the websites that do printing for you. So we've remade parts for Army Navy, we've remade parts for World Series, we've made parts for the early Gottliebs. So anything that's fairly easy to model, we rip out really quickly. And if it's a little more difficult, then it takes us a while, and having a sample always helps. But we do that. You can ask on the Pre-War Pinball Facebook group, and Chris is happy to jump in and help out.
Are there parts you find that are hard to reproduce?
Yes. Yes.
What's the hidden?
So the main one right now, in the World Series, in the bottom where the clockwork mechanism happens and the bases turn around, there's what's called the spider casting. And the spider casting is this four-armed bracket that holds all the gears and everything together. And since it was made out of pot metal, it's not very strong, and you tend to find them broken, right? So to reproduce that, to cast it, it's just a difficult cast, because we've tried that. We've tried silicone mold casts. We've tried quite a number of things, and what we've done is we've printed a plastic model out of some stronger Kevlar, and we put some additional standoffs on it. So it might not look original, but it does the same purpose. And we've had decent results with that. We haven't had anyone put it in for a long time, but we're trying to get something that's like an unobtainium part.
Is there a point where you get enough reproduced parts that you could relatively like use these machines?
I think so. We've modeled every part on World Series, and I think I can make a miniature, which is going to be one of my next side projects. Make like one the size of my laptop, right? Because it's all scaled down. I just need to find the right tensile strength on the springs to be able to get it to turn right.
To answer the question about where a lot of them went, that's where a lot of them went. A lot of those parts were pot metal.
Yeah.
Like I bought 3 World Series just to get the mechanism in one. It didn't work. And he owns all.
And then I bought all 3.
And he has all. But that's beside the point. But yeah, they were pot metal once they broke. I mean,
You'll see the basis thing on the top of World Series. You find a lot of those that are crumbled and crushed as well.
What exactly is pot metal?
It's a combination of lead and tin and whatever else they had lying around that came together, right? So they weren't casting, they weren't CNC and stuff out of steel or anything like
it all
that.
cast and it just crumbled.
It's what they could get in the time period.
Yeah,
Because the war was consuming
Coming out,
all of
yeah,
the good.
that's right.
Yeah.
Where do you keep your specs for parts that you have that
parts-
you're willing to share?
Yeah, my friend won't share the designs, but he'll be happy to sell them to you, and it's up on Shapeways.
Okay.
And I'll give you the link, I'll post the link later. Yeah. So here's our final slide. We have a couple machines. We have the relay, which is really cool, up in the top left corner. We have a Rockola wing, so you can go play that one. We have the Army Navy, which was completely restored. It looks gorgeous. And then we have Becca standing in the booth at Texas Pinball Festival. We normally have about 18 to 20 machines every year, so we invite you to
Trying
try.
to grow it if you've got one.
Yeah, and if you got one, come bring it. They're easy to put in your car. They're easy to lift, and we would enjoy having you as a guest.
Weekend pass.
And you get a weekend pass. All right, thank you, and good night.
Good job.
It's not bad, 15 minutes is left. I thought what I thought. So.
Did you ever come up with what kind of teak they used?
Yeah, on the 1934 Ganco Tiki.
Yeah, the teak.
Tiki, that was a good machine. I have 3 of them.
Not the Rockola Farte, but
No, the Farte, that was
a different one.
Was that entertaining at all?
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. You did good, Jeff.
You did great.
Well
We
done.
definitely were here for the whole thing.
Yeah, I saw it back there.
Perfect.
I almost learned something.
I know, right? Almost.
That was practice.
Oh, you have to meet first.
Here you go.
First,
This is.
my friend.
Oh, I'll just put it there.
Oh, is that next?
Oh, and I have business cards.
O'clock tonight, that's.
Everybody's gone, so we'll leave that.
You
heard the
great.
No, that came off all the way.
The whole 12 rounds, yeah, because they do 6 rounds.
Follow you back on my phone.
Right.
That's what it did.
That was excellent.
That
was excellent, right? And the fact that
I would be the
you know what I mean?
and be like,
That's exactly what I wanted to show.
happens when
That's
I-
exactly what I wanted to show.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, but you think about it, until really the past
Congo
5,
is weird. It's, that was
really,
so
the
great.
past 5 years,
I'm not sure. Once you flap them, they're like,
team modeling and being able to print them. I mean, that's why I'd pretty much given up on the World Series.
Well, you know, I bought last month, some dude posted on the pre-war group, they go, I got this box of parts, and it's all jigsaw parts. And I go, I want them fucking one. It cost me $300 to get them from
And then.
Europe, because they were in London, here, and it had the one piece I need to finish my jigsaw, but then it has the metal casting for where the balls are, which I can sell for $300 straight up. It has a bunch of different rods and stuff, internal ones, it looks like one, which is why they took it all apart. But I was like, yeah, and everybody was like, I don't know whether they didn't see it, or didn't understand, or, but I texted them immediately, go, I am buying all of that.
What's Chris's last name?
Hale.
It's funny that the Chris that I knew that actually modeled the center casting for World Series was the same guy who was helping out with Color DMV. When that came out, since he did a run of 100 aircraft.
Was that Audi at whatever? Was that being yeah, I tried to get the model.
Inride or something. Chris is
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't get the model.
Yeah, he wouldn't give it to me, but he did 3D printing one, and you had that now.
And yeah, Chris took the one out of the machine, the good one, and he got it spot on.
Nice.
And the stainless it actually costs like $1.80 to print, even without Chris charging it.
Yeah.
So, and he's just
Is he bigger than Henry yet?
he's just a mechanic
He's gonna.
that likes the models in World Series. And so we're pulling the little shooter, the spring back part. We're pulling that when I deliver these. There's certain people who need it.
Yep.
It's going to be a $25 part. It's going to take 2 minutes to model. And then, ta-da, you have a bunch of machines that are using those.
Yeah.
Which is the end goal of all of that.
Which is amazing. Because I can't imagine how many World Series and those that just got thrown away because once that center casting was a bit broke, that was it. Well, you just got a broken machine.
It was, the cabinet was literally falling apart. All the parts were so completely rusted, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, yep.
Definitely getting that.
That was good, yeah.
Good.
The internet here is so bad.
So
We're in like a basement, but I recorded it too.
Oh, cool.
So worst case, when we look back at the live stream, if it's too choppy, I'll just edit
You
it.
should have told me.
I mean, I have a
Because
hotspot.
that's what I'm doing, I'm hotspotting it.
Yeah, and it's just, I'm getting like 5 megs, but with an actual like Motorola hotspot, but
Like 30 pounds. Yeah.
it's streaming, but on some of the services, it's a little choppy.
That's a little, sure, right? Yeah, because I was trying to get into, my computer has like an authenticator on it, from work. It worked. Since I had to be doing my phone, couldn't get the authenticator, that was all jacked. I needed a free internet that wasn't hotels, because I couldn't get on the internet.
Right.
Well, thank you for recording.
I know.
I'm super stoked, right? Yeah, I'm super stoked.
It was great.
I like seeing the free will get out. Yeah, right. And I'm gonna go and play right?
We can like it all.
That's correct, right? That's I thought about remodding one of the old pre-wars and doing like a Slayer machine or something like that.
Yeah.
Full green and blood. Thank you again.
We're gonna build you like a cab run thing outside. We can like go like carriage. Like.
Yeah, no, Henry has a cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing river homebrew stuff. Like, it seems appealing and easy.
Easy-ish is ever.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Big guns.
No. Why is no one else streaming pinball on Twitch right now?
Jack's
Because we're all here.
Jack's gonna stream my pre-war tonight.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he's gonna stream my World Series.
Ooh.
Because I'm out in
It's at
Chicago
his
and it's like, here,
studio?
here's it.
Oh, nice. Dope.
It was convenient because the guy bought it from was like, lives right by Jack's studio. So he wouldn't drop it off today.
Has no one I can go send people to.
Because I'm pretty sure Keith is in,
Send them with me.
like next.
Gloria's here. She's an early group. We can go say hi to her in early group. We're gonna go to early group, say hi to Lori, and then we'll wander around.
Okay.
Where's Scott?
You should be wandering somewhere.
He's
He was testing his audio stuff earlier.
Oh, okay.
Making sure all
I'm like,
works.
where's me? Where's the other me?
Scott.
Kevin
I know,
Jones
where's
is
Scott?
his name. He does really nice restorations. He was showing me some pics.
Is he on Facebook?
He is on Facebook.
Oh,
Because I see somebody that does.
He
that.
posted in the pre-war group that was for sale, and that's how I found it. But like, so his collections, he's got modern stuff.
He's an Arcade Expo banter.
I don't know what some of these are, but
Thank you.
whatever that thing is. He's got that little skill.
Who the hell's playing with lights? Those?
They just